Hello everyone, welcome to the Muse Report. This is the fourth month that I've been doing this program. We started back in April, and the format is that I give a rundown of events going on in the wider community in the arts. And the reason it's called the Muse Report is because the Muses were ancient Greek goddesses of the arts, and they were called upon at all occasions in ancient Greece to more or less bless the event. And I can't rattle them off at this point, but there were three muses of poetry: epic, love poetry, and sacred poetry. And there was the muse of music and of dance, and even oddly enough, there was a muse of history and one of astronomy. And comedy and tragedy. I think I probably got them all. Anyway, I don't deal with anything beyond pretty much Monmouth County, a little bit of Ocean County. In other words, I don't deal with Newark, the PAC, or New York City, just events that are easier for Seabrook residents to get to. And I will have a guest today, my friend over here, Elaine, and we'll talking to her a little bit later. But right now I'm going to start right off with theater. And in Thompson Park in Lincroft, which is about 15 minutes from here, only until July 3rd, they are presenting A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. And then after some weeks of nothing, they're going to do Pippin at the end of July. And the telephone number for both of these to find out more details is 842-4000. The next theater item is at the New Jersey Repertory Theater, which a group of us have gone to a couple of times. There was a Seabrook bus there. It's in Long Branch, not hard to find. And they are doing, from July 7th to August 14th, A Child's Guide to Innocence. And I don't know anything more about it than that, but there's the scroll at the end of the program will show you how to reach them for information. Then, also in theater, in Ocean Grove, there's a restaurant called Days. And Days has associated with it something called the Starving Artist. Do you know about the Starving Artist?
I don't.
And they put on plays. In fact, I saw Gilbert and Sullivan play there a couple of summers ago. And what they're doing also in July, until July 9th, is Godspell. And they're doing this on Friday and Saturday nights at 7:30. And I'll give you the phone number for that. This is the Starving Artist at Days, 988-1007. So that's as much as I'm doing with theater. And in the realm of fine art, there's going to be a boardwalk art show in Ocean Grove run by the Chamber of Commerce there, and it is on the 30th of July in the morning, 10 o'clock. And the phone number for that is 774-1391. Now we come to music. Last month, if you were watching, we had a guest from Count Basie telling us all the wonderful things about that great theater, its history and its plans for the future and so on. I was very pleased to find out they're going to do a lot more daytime events at Count Basie, which is better for a lot of us here. Anyway, in Count Basie on July 25th is a program with Larry Elgart's orchestra called Hooked on Swing. And that's at 2 p.m., which is nice and convenient. And then July 30th, also at Count Basie, a program called My Sinatra. That's at 8 o'clock. And what it says is a full orchestral arrangement, a full orchestra plays transcriptions from the original Sinatra arrangers. So that's the 30th. And then at another theater, which was the subject of my second Muse report, the Jersey Shore Arts Center in Ocean Grove, on both July 9th and July 16th at night, they're doing a concert version of Carmen. And the telephone number for more information, and it's only $20, is 502-0153. So those are everything not counting Ocean Grove, but now I'm going to talk about Ocean Grove. this little booklet, which I'm going to try to get some more of these and put them in the crafts rooms, tells everything going on at Ocean Grove for the whole summer. And there's a huge amount going on, and I've just isolated a couple of things to talk about. On July 2nd at 8 o'clock, the Glenn Miller Orchestra. And July 3rd, in the same place, Jazz Vespers. July 7th, a concert pianist, I believe he must be Chinese, his name is Di Wu, D-I-W-U, 7:30 in the Great Auditorium, only $12. July 9th, Ronan Tynan. Do you know him? No. He's an Irish tenor, and he's singing at 8 o'clock. On the 14th, a trio, I believe had clarinet, violin, and piano. I'm not sure, but it's a Brahms trio. That's Thursday the 14th. And Thursday the 21st, and that's also $12, piano and trombone. And I have been to the Great Auditorium for some of these concerts last summer and the summer before, and it's wonderful. They don't fill the place the way some other events do, but the level of musicality is really very high, and so I highly recommend those. Then, I said Hooks on Swing already, yeah. And finally, on the 28th, also in the Ocean Grove Auditorium, is a trio of piano, clarinet, and violin. So that should be very nice. And I left out one thing, and that was that in Red Bank, I got this out of the Monmouth Journal, which is this little newspaper that is free to be picked up in our lobbies. In Red Bank, there is a park overlooking the river called Gardens Park. I think it's Riverside Gardens Park, sorry. And songwriters in the park every Wednesday in July. And jazz in the park. There's a whole series, Jazz in the Park. On June 30th, Mike Kaplan. July 7th, Tone Masters. July 14th, Brookdale Big Band. July 21st, the Navasink Brass. And July 28th, our own Art Topolo, who we had here at Seabrook, and that was just wonderful. He's a fabulous jazz person who also happens to be a medical doctor. And on July 28th, in that Riverside Gardens Park, he's got a program of Brazilian jazz, which is kind of different. Now,
you were going to talk about El Lobo Negro?
Oh, yes. In Asbury Park, every Friday night at El Lobo Negro is jazz. Can you say anything more about that?
It's local jazz musicians, and there can be up to 12 or 15 people in the jazz band there, or as small as 4. And they just play jazz. I don't know when it starts, but I think there's like a $10 cover fee, and the 2 owners who have the art gallery there bring in food so you can eat. It's quite an exciting thing to go to. If you love your jazz, this is a great place to go.
Yeah, great. Now, along the shore, right here, along the shore, we have various musical events going on this summer. And I don't have details on Avon, but it's a beach pavilion at Woodland Avenue. And I'm not even sure of the day, but I'll give you a phone number. That's 502-4510. And Belmar at a place called Piano Plaza. That's funny spelling. P-Y-A-N-O-E, Plaza, 9th and Main Street, from 7 to 10 p.m. A whole bunch of things. A lot of it is rock, and I've singled out 2 that I think would be more of interest to the residents here. And one of them is the Ragtimers, is a group doing music from the Roaring Twenties, including a sing-along. And on July 29th, an all-Irish American program by a group called Round the House. So let me see, that's Avon, Asbury Park, Belmar, and now we come to one of the reasons that I'm having my guest here, Bradley Beach. And this is Elaine Vanderplate Held, who I will call Elaine Held for short, and she is a concert pianist and a friend of mine who lives in Bradley Beach. And there's a program going on every week all summer, and Elaine is going to tell us about it.
It starts July 4th on that Monday, and it's called Opera by the Ocean. And it got started 2 years ago by Howard Dean, who is a local baritone who has done a lot of work and is a friend of both yours and mine. And he and another soprano sing these either operatic arias or duets, and I accompany them. And it's outside, right there at the big gazebo in Bradley Beach. Weather sometimes is an issue for us, I think. If anything, the wind blows our music. I have to have someone clamp down my music. But the singers come dressed in their tuxedo and their gown, and they do a lot of hamming up of these beautiful arias. So there's plenty of seating because the benches are set up there in front of the gazebo. Sometimes we try and do our performances on top of the gazebo, and there's some lighting up there, but sometimes it is so windy that we have to move down to the bottom of the gazebo to sort of buffer ourselves.
I was there the night that you changed in the middle to move down from the gazebo.
Yes. So if people come, bring a sweater, bring a cushion, they are hard benches, or bring your own chair. It's kind of fun. Sometimes we bring in a guest. Like I have a couple of voice students, and sometimes they will come and sing. The soprano has a couple of voice students that she will bring in. And we will have other local artists in the area. This year, we're going to use some of the instrumentalists that we know.
Oh, like who?
Joel DeWitt playing violin.
Oh, he's fabulous.
Jan Dash playing clarinet. Karen Pinocci playing cello. So those are the few of the ones that will be coming to join us.
And it's absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
Right.
Yep.
And it starts at, did you say
Starts
8?
at 7:30 to 9, something like that. Of course, if it rains, we don't have it.
Right, yeah.
It's all outdoors, so you have to be prepared for that.
And starting July 4th and going through till Labor Day?
The end of August.
Oh,
yes, till Labor Day. Yes,
till
that's
Labor
right.
Day. Labor Day is Monday.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah. And I recall that when I was there last summer, and I believe I came about 3 times, that in addition to opera, you did some musical comedy. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. They don't just do opera. They do plenty of musical comedy, the duets and the solos from that. And I play some solos as well on the piano to keep that going for myself. Some things like the Gershwin Piano Concerto, the Rhapsody in Blue. Some of the more well-known pieces is what I play. Fur Elise, Moonlight Sonata, especially if the moon is out.
Oh, yes. Moon over Bradley Beach.
Right. I do the Chopin Ocean Etude because we're at the ocean, so it's a perfect opportunity to do things like that. So, yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah.
So, and when did you say this? All 2 years ago, you said it started.
We started 2
right.
years. This is our 3rd year. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I recommend it, folks. It's a wonderful way to spend a couple of hours in the summer nearby. I mean, it's like, 15, at most 15 minutes from here.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Now, another thing about Elaine. Elaine has embarked on a very, very interesting project, as I think about 6 or 7 years ago, dealing with and resurrecting the music of women composers. And I'll let Elaine start to talk about that.
I think it all started, I would say, maybe 15 or 20 years ago when I was getting my master's. And I kept thinking to myself, well, what about those women composers? Are there any women composers out there? I certainly, from the time I started taking piano lessons and voice lessons, I had never sung or played anything by a woman composer. And I mentioned it to my graduate professor, and he said, oh, no, don't worry about that kind of thing. So I sort of let it drop. And then about 10 years ago, I decided, no, I really must check this out. And it was about that time that a new book came out called The Norton Grove Dictionary of Women Composers. It has 900 women in here and it was published in 1995. So a lot has happened since 1995. And I found a lot of my composers in there, of course, people like Amy Beach, who's a Native American born in Boston, Clara Schumann, who is Clara Wieck when she wrote a lot of her music, and Fanny Mendelssohn, who was the sister, the older sister of Felix. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I was quite impressed with it. So this is our 7th year, and up till now I've played about 30 different women composers.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's been very exciting for me. I almost don't play any men composers anymore. I mean, I don't have time in my day, so I have to limit, what I'm going to do, and I pretty much stick with the women composers now.
One of the things that impressed me at the first concert that I went to of yours, which was probably 5 years ago, is that I was kind of stereotyping women composers in my own mind, that I would be able to tell that was by a woman because there'd be something maybe a little fluffy about it, or I don't even know the word. Right. And I was dumbstruck at how absolutely you cannot tell, and that there's a huge variety in all of them.
Yes, yeah, it's absolutely true. And I think, can I tell a little story about Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Carl, Laurie's husband, came to one of my concerts, probably one of the first concerts. And afterwards at the reception, he came up to me and he said, "Oh, Elaine, I feel so bad because I think I've been a misogynist all these years. I didn't think women could write such beautiful and powerful music." I said, "Oh, Carl, you just made my day." So that was really fun.
Along the same lines.
That was really fun. Yeah.
Well, and some of the concerts that you do include jazz, right?
Well, this particular book is only classical women. There are a few jazz women in there, but there's nothing with musical theater or really the jazz world or the popular world. But I stick mostly with classical. However, on each of my concerts, I feel that it's important to add something really fun. So I usually do a ragtime, which I didn't know until like about 3 years ago that about 100 women wrote ragtime. So I like to stick that in. And this last concert, we had I had a double bass and a drummer, and they happened to be women. I didn't particularly go out to look for women instrumentalists, but that's how it happened. And they were wonderful. One was 27, one was 31, and they were just adorable and played so beautifully. And we did a jazzy piece by a French woman composer whose name was Madeleine Dring. 3 little pieces that were just lovely and charming.
I think we have something that we were getting.
Oh yes, that's the drummer and the double bass player.
Right.
They were wonderful. It was terrific. And then at the same concert, I had a cellist and a clarinetist and the live woman composer, and so we're all up there taking our bows. The poor drummer is bowing too low, so you can hardly see her, but everyone else is up there.
Yeah. And Elaine is the one in the blue gown.
Yes. The 3 women on the left were monologue readers. A friend of mine had decided that she wanted to write some very short, like about 2 minutes long monologue on 3 of the women composers who couldn't be there themselves because they have died. And those were the 3 readers of the 3 different monologues. One was an African-American woman, one was a British woman, Madeleine Dring was British, and the other was, who was the other? Judith did that one. Oh yeah, the Madeline Feist.
Oh.
Faisst, unusual name.
Yeah.
So she wrote these monologues, and they were the readers.
Anyway, one of the reasons for my having Elaine here is that she and I are both hoping to bring her program to Seabrook. And we will keep you informed as to if and when that's going to happen.
Right.
And the concert that you just saw on the screen, and most of the other ones, no, not most of the other ones, a good number of the other ones, are held at the Unitarian Meeting House in Lincroft, which is about 15 minutes from here also.
Yeah.
But you do concertize all over the state. Could you say some more about that?
A lot of the concerts that I do are at concert series. I send out a letter once a year to different concert series, and they pick up on it. So I don't do too many a year, maybe 3 or 4 in different places. I was in Bayonne the beginning of the year, which I'd never been to. Born and raised in New Jersey, never been to Bayonne. I have a concert that we're trying to plan in Denver for next spring, as well as one in Holland. And that's only because I have friends in Denver, and I have family and friends in Holland. So they all try and make this happen for me. So I don't spend too much time promoting it. It's a fun thing to do, and what I do now already takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your CD.
Okay.
Let's see. Here it is. And a lovely picture of Elaine on the front. And it says Rediscover down here, Volume 1, which I presume means there's going to be a Volume 2.
I hope so. I hope so.
And I'm just going to read the table of contents here. These names were not, except for one, were not familiar to me. But the first one is Elizabeth Jacquet de la Guerre. Then we have Marianne,
by the way, a Baroque composer.
Marianne Martinez.
Who was a classical composer.
And then Clara Wieck, who was Schumann's...
Who married Robert Schumann and became Robert Schumann's wife.
Right. And then Florence Price. She might be somewhat known, but I'm not sure.
You know her only because you've come to many of my concerts. But she was an African-American composer who wrote some really fabulous spirituals, sort of a jazzy influence. It's a beautiful...
I remember that. Yeah. And then May Aufderheide, A Totally Different Rag.
Right.
And Irene Giblin, Sleepy Lou, a raggy two-step. And lastly, Adeline Shepard, who I do know, Pickles and Peppers, a rag odyssey. So those are all the things on this wonderful CD, which is available.
And which you own.
And which I own, right. Yeah. And that's as much as I can think of. I think I've covered as much as I had planned to. And when you see me in the hall, you might mention that you saw this program and mention anything you liked about it or anything you didn't, because there's no fixed formula here. I've kind of been just winging it along since April and enjoying it very much. And so that's about it for the Muse Report for July. Thank you, Elaine, for being
welcome,
my
Lauren.
guest.
Thank you for asking.
And now you'll see the scrolling of the various places that some of these things are held as the program is ending. You'll see that, and we do that every single month. And if you're curious about the music of the opening is Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 2, and the music for the closing is a jazz arrangement of Sleepers Awake played by the clarinetist Richard Stoltzman. And that's it for today.